Then you will store the data related to the flights, flight timings, flight information. I mean, like about the airports, the location of the airports, all those things. So it's nothing but whenever you're trying to develop any application, you'll try to store the data which is related to that application or which is required in order to develop the application, and that data will store it in the database. And that is the reason why it's called as collection of data which is of an interest to an organization. And why it is called as a related data? The reason is because the data whichever we store in the database, it will be a related data. For example, if you take the airports and then the flights, so and so flight will be landing on so and so airport. So that means there is a relationship between both the data which is stored in the database. So that is the reason why it is called as a relational data. Okay, it's a collection of related data which is of an interest to an organization. It is called as a database. And then you need to know about a term called as DBMS. DBMS stands for Database Management Systems. It's nothing but it's a group of programs which is required or which will be running on the operating system to maintain the database or to create the database. So there are various types of DBMS software which are available in the market, and again we have another kind of management systems which is called as relational database management system. So first, coming to database management system, this was the first database management systems which were developed when all the software people or all the technical guys, they thought of separating the data from the application. So when they are thinking about separating the data into a separate set or into a separate field, they were thinking about database management system, and they wrote some programs which will be used to create the database as well as to maintain the database. That means maintaining the database in the sense it's a software or it's a set of programs which will allow the users to store the data as well as to retrieve the data. So DBMS is nothing but it's a set of programs which run on operating system and which are used to manage and maintain the database. It will also allow the users to store and retrieve the data. So if the database if this is the database, and in this database we have the data, and if users are accessing the database, that means what he can do, either he can store the data or he can retrieve the data. So storing and retrieval will also be, it will allow the users, the software which allows the users to store and retrieve the data, it is called as a database management system. And then this DBMS has several disadvantages. So example of this DBMS is you can take an Excel sheet where you can store the data. So if you want to store the information about airlines like flights and the airports, you can store it in the Excel sheet. But the thing is, like, if you want to search for a specific information. Say for example, if you want to search for so and so flight which is landing on the airport which is located in New York, then you have to search the entire file to get the information. It will take a lot of time. So data retrieval is not an easy thing in database management system, where you store the data in just single file, where you store the entire data in just one single file. And also there are several disadvantages of the database management systems. And then they introduce a new concept called as relational database management systems, where the data, instead of storing the information, instead of storing the entire data in a single file, we will distribute the data in such a way that it can be managed in small pieces. So first, coming to relational database management system, all the data will be stored in tables, and there will be relations among the tables. So basically in RDBMS, whatever the information you want to store, you'll store it in table, and a table will have rows and columns. These are rows and these are columns. Columns are called as attributes. And rows are called as tuples in RDBMS. And all the information which you want to store, you'll store it in tables. And one of that software which will allow you to create a relational database is one of the software is Oracle software. So Oracle is an example of relational database management system. That means whenever you have an Oracle database and whenever you're creating any data or whenever you're storing any data in Oracle database, you'll store it in the form of tables. And you will develop a relationship among those tables. So in order to create the database, first you need to have the software, which is nothing but an Oracle RDBMS software. So first we will install this software, and then using that software we can create the database. As we already saw, a database management system is a set of programs which is used to manage and maintain the database. Not only manage and maintain, it is also useful to create the database. So if you want to create the database, first we need to have a database management system software. And Oracle, it's a relational database management system software, where in RDBMS everything will be represented in terms of tables, and there will be relationship among the tables. Now if you want to work as an Oracle DBA, your main responsibilities will be, first, an Oracle DBA can be categorized first. So if you're working as an Oracle DBA, you can work in several types of teams. So for example, there may be a chance whenever you get recruited into a company as an Oracle DBA, there may be a chance that you will be working in build team. So if you get a chance to work in the build team, you'll be involved in creating the databases. So first, in order to create the database, you have to install the software. So you'll be involved with installing the software. You'll also be involving in creating the databases. You'll also be involving, uh, you'll also be involved in applying the patches. The way you get security updates in the Windows, in the similar way you'll get patches for Oracle software. So Oracle will, whenever it identifies any bug, it will release a patch, and you have to apply the patch in order to avoid that bug. So you'll also be involved in applying those patches, whatever the Oracle releases. Then you'll also be involved in upgradations. Like whenever the way we have Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, in the same way Oracle also has version upgrades. So right now the current version they have is 12c, and I mean like most of the companies are not yet implemented at 12c. So most of them has 11g R2. Now if Oracle stops supporting 11g R2, then we have to upgrade the databases to 12c. So if you get a chance to work in the build team, you'll also be involved in performing the upgradations. So whenever the Oracle introduces a new version, you'll be involved in updating the software to a newer version. So this will be your task whenever you get a chance to work in a build team. Next, if you get a chance to work in production support, that means you'll be mainly involved in maintaining the databases. That means you have to check backups are taken successfully or not. So as a DBA, your main task or your main responsibility is, as a production DBA, you have to provide the database 24/7 up and running. So that means the database should be available all the time. So if something happens to the database, you should be in a position to recover or restore the database. So for that, you'll be taking the backups. And as a DBA, as a production support DBA, you'll be involved in checking whether the backups are taken successfully or not, and all those things. And also, you'll be involved in monitoring the databases. So there are some tools which are provided by the Oracle. One of the tool is called as a grid control, which comes with Oracle Enterprise Manager, and using that tool you can monitor the databases. Like what are the, I mean like in the database, what happens is like either you can retrieve or you can store the data, and store and retrieval will be done using SQL queries. And to when you're monitoring the database, you'll be checking what are the SQLs which are running on the database, and what are the SQLs which are consuming lot of resources, what are the SQLs which are consuming high resources, and what are the SQLs which are causing any problems to the database, such that you'll monitor all those SQLs and you'll try to resolve the issues. And also you'll be involved in tuning the database. So whenever the database is slow, you'll be involved in tuning the database such that database will be working efficiently. The data retrieval or data inserts will be faster. You'll need to make sure the database must perform in a better way. So as a production support, you'll be involved in these activities. You may also get a chance to work in security team. So as a DBA, you'll be involved in securing the database such that there'll be some confidential information in the database, and that confidential information must be accessed by the user who are allowed to access in the organization. So if you get a chance to work in the security team, you will be involved in creating users and administering the users. That means you'll be deciding who are the users who can access some specific tables, who are the users who can access another set of tables, who are the users belong to a specific application, and what kind of access they need in order to access the tables. And all those things you will be involved whenever you get a chance to work with the security team. Creating roles, and also you'll be involved in encrypting the data. So if there is any confidential information, we'll encrypt the data. Okay, and also there's some optional kind of thing. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In some organizations, like if it's a big enterprise, you'll also have separate team called as a backup team. So as I told you, hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So whenever you get a chance to work in a backup team, you'll be involved in taking the backups. I'll just go ahead and write it here. So you'll take the backup of database such that if something happens to the database, you'll be in a position to restore and recover the database. So you'll be involved in taking the backups, restoring the backups from tape, and also you'll be involved in recovering the databases. There's a difference between restore and recover. You'll see it in the future classes. So as a DBA, your main responsibilities will be, it will depend upon the team you're working on. So if you're working on the production support, your main task will be all these tasks. High availability. You need to make sure the database is available all the time, 24/7. So this will be the responsibilities as an Oracle DBA on the whole. Now, as we saw what is an Oracle database and what are the responsibilities of Oracle DBA, we will see how the users can connect to the database. A user can connect to the database in three ways. One, one of them is it's a client server configuration where client will be sitting on one machine which is located in Texas, and database will be in separate location or on the separate server in New York, and user will be using some client software using that client software he will connect to the database. As The database is serving the request coming from the user. Database is called as a server. So basically it is a two-tier architecture which is of the form client server. Client will be submitting the request and server will be serving those requests. And here the server will be database. So this is one of the way a user can connect to the database using a client software. The second approach is user opens a browser and he opens a site. Uh, Say for example, if he types in southwestairlines.com. First, whenever he enters any URL, it will go to the server where the application is hosted. That server is called as a web server. Just think this as a web server. And on this server, you will have the application. And this application, first, it will display the static pages like information about the Southwest Airlines and all those things. Then, in this static page, if you select some information, like if you select on this so and so date, I want some flight, then this application server will connect to the database. So if you look at this configuration, it is a three-tier architecture where application server is involved. So user connects to the application server and in turn application server will connect to the database, which is a three-tier architecture. This is a two-tier. And the third way a user can connect to the database is, this is a server where the database is present. User can log into the same server and he can connect to the database. As this is a server where the database is hosted, he doesn't require any software. Using the DBMS software which is installed in the server, he can connect to the database. So these are the three ways in which a user can connect to the database. Either it can be a two-tier, three-tier, or a one-tier. So let us see how we can connect to the database using a three-tier architecture. First, okay, we'll come from this way. We'll see how a user can connect to the database from the server itself. So right now, I have some of the servers which are already installed. One of that server name is called as a dev. So what I did is, I have a Windows system, Windows laptop, where I have 8 GB of RAM and 600 GB of hard disk. Within that, I created a virtual server called as dev. And for this server, I gave 1 GB of RAM, 40 GB of hard disk. So think this as a remote server. So what I did, I logged into the server, and if I want to connect to the database, I already said using existing RDBMS software, as a database is created on this server itself. So using the RDBMS software itself, I'll connect to the database. I don't require any client software here because this is a server where the database is running. So just using SQL Plus, I can connect to the database. Okay. Now I connected to the database. There is nothing but this configuration. I can log into the server itself and then I can connect to the database. Next, we will see two-tier approach. In the two-tier approach, client machine will be my Windows machine and server will be my Linux machine. This is a Linux machine. This is a virtual Linux machine which I created on my laptop, and the client will be my Windows machine. Now I have to use some client software in order to connect to the database which is present in a different location. So using a client software called as SQL Developer. It's a free software which is available on the website, or I mean like in the Oracle website. You can just straight away download it and you can use it. So using that software I will connect to the database. SQL Developer, it's one of the client software which is available in the market. So using this client software, you'll make a connection to the database. As you're connecting to the database which is present in a different server, you have to provide the server which you're trying to connect. So all these things you'll see it in the future classes why I'm providing all these details. But just for now, so now I connected to the database. I can select information from the database. Select star from EMP. So this will fetch the information from EMP table. So if you see here, Windows is my client machine and Linux is my server. So whenever I'm performing any request, whenever I'm giving any request, this request will be the SQL query. So the request, I'm giving it from the Windows server, and database is serving that request. So this is a client server architecture where the client is sitting on one location and server is sitting on another location. Okay. And the third approach will be a three-tier architecture. So let me show that. So I'm opening a web page And if you look at this web page, it is actually connecting to an application server which is located on this IP address 192.168.1.110. Okay, the application is sitting on this IP address. Now, once I give some information, it will pull some other information from the database. So this application server, which is hosted on 192.168.1.110, it will connect to the database, which is located on 192.168.1.78, and it displayed the pages. And these pages, I got all these images and all this information from the database. So this is a three-tier architecture. First, your request will go to an application server, which is 110, and from there it will go to and then the request will go to the database, which is 78. Okay, this is an example of three-tier architecture. Any questions? Okay. So to get a hands-on experience on all the topics and all the responsibilities, whatever I covered till now, what we'll do is like we will install a virtual machine software. So using that software, we'll create virtual machines, and on that virtual machine, we will install the database or we'll create the database. The reason is because in the real time, all the databases will be present in either Linux operating system or Unix operating system. So that is the reason why we have to create a virtual machine. As your laptops are in Windows, we have to create a virtual machine. We have to install Linux software, and on top of it, we'll create the database and install the software. Okay, so for that we'll be using a software called as VMware Server. And can I know what version of Windows you have in your laptops?
Shiva here. I'm having Windows 7.
Okay, and configuration?
Configuration is 6 GB RAM and 300 GB hard disk.
Okay. What about you, Ashish?
Mohan, actually, I've already installed the Oracle VMware machine and Oracle software.
Can you uninstall them and install the VMware Server?
Again,
Yeah, because what you have is a virtual workstation, like, I guess maybe.
VMware only.
No, in the VMware there are several flavors.
Uh-huh.
Do you know it's
Linux.
VMware? Do you know it's VMware Server or VMware Workstation?
VMware workstation.
Okay, you need to uninstall that and you need to install VMware Server, because in the future classes VMware Workstation will not be helpful for us.
Oh, okay. So I'm curious. Like, I can keep that one and I can reinstall the VMware server again, or I have to uninstall that software.
You cannot have two flavors of VMware.
Okay. Yeah. That's I'm not aware of that, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, you need to uninstall the workstation and you need to install the VMware Server.
Okay.
And then using this VMware Server software, we'll create. Yeah, tell me, Siva.
Yeah, after that, I mean, do I need to install again like Linux and Oracle?
Yeah, actually, but I'll be showing you how to do that. If you know, that's okay.
Okay.
But maybe Ashish will.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that one. That's why I'm worrying. Like if I uninstall that one because I don't have any option to practice. So that's why I'm thinking.
Oh no no no! I will provide you all the softwares and I'll also show you how to install it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
So we'll be using VMware Server 2.0. This is software which will install, and using this software we'll create virtual machines. So say for example, if you have 500 GB hard disk, we'll allocate 40 GB for the virtual machine, for the Linux machine, and then we'll allocate 1.5 GB of RAM and one CPU. And we'll use Oracle Enterprise Linux. This is one of the flavor of Linux operating system, and we'll use OEL 5, Oracle Enterprise Linux 5. And even this Oracle Enterprise Linux 5, it's a free software which is available in Oracle site. So what I will do, I will invite both of you to a Dropbox folder where you have the softwares. So I will share this folder for you, softwares. So once you create an account in the Dropbox, you can download the VMware Server 2.02. So you're able to see my screen, right? So there is a RAR file called as VMware Server 2.02. So download that RAR file and also these ISO files, Enterprise R5U4. So there are actually 5 ISO files. You need to download all of them. Using this software, we'll install the VMware server and also we'll install the Linux operating system.
Okay.
Okay. So today I'll invite you. I mean, like I'll invite both of you to the software. So just download the software and get ready for tomorrow's class. I'll show you how to install them.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we'll continue from there on. Okay.
Okay.
Can I get your email IDs? Will it be the same one or?
Same one.
Okay. And also, I'll invite you to another folder. All the classes I'll be recording them and I'll be uploading it to the Dropbox.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Mohan, are we continuing on weekdays or I mean, is there any plan to conduct on weekends?
Uh, your wish, like what is your availability?
Actually, I'm thinking like to attend the class on weekends. That's better for me. Maybe Ashish, how
Okay.
about you?
Is 2 to 4 okay for you guys?
Yeah, I'm okay at any time. Any
Ashish, what?
issues.
Okay then, yeah. I'll do one thing then. I'll continue on Saturday.
Okay.
I'll already send the invitee, so please download those softwares. One is VMware
Okay.
Server 2.0 and then 5 ISO files.
Okay.
And also, if you get a chance, you can also download Oracle 11 to folder.
11 GR. Okay.
Yeah. Okay then. Bye. Good night.
Yeah. Bye. Good night. Thank you.